Hello and welcome back, everybody, to this Friday. What day is it? July 21st edition of Inside the Eagles podcast, live TV, whatever you want to call it. We're happy that you are joining us. We got a good show for you guys today. We got Jalil Williams, we got Brandon Pockris that are going to join me. But first, two things. Number one, I have bad internet right now. If I cut out, it's not a big deal. Show's going to keep going. But if I drop out, don't worry about it. It's just not going to see my face for a second. I'll get back on. The second thing I want to talk about. All right. So this happened. I don't know if this was yesterday or maybe the day before that. Kimberly Martin of ESPN was on one of their shows, one of the football shows, and she said something. I guess the discussion they were talking about was the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league. And she said that Jalen Hurts is the most disrespected quarterback in the league. Now, I kind of have I don't know about a problem with that maybe I do have a problem with it. Maybe that is the right word for it. I understand her sentiment. That Jalen Hurts doesn't get he's not valued correctly, I think is the right way to say it. Using the word disrespect is there's like purpose behind the word disrespect. Like Jalen Hurts, he's undervalued, maybe misunderstood, I don't want to say underutilized, but you guys get what I mean by that. I don't think he's disrespected. When PFF, they just was that today or yesterday, they left him off the top 50 of the players in the NFL. I don't agree with that. I think that's undervaluing him. I don't think that's disrespecting him. When PFF, and again, I guess it is all just PFF actually, but whenever they put him at the number 7 quarterback, I don't think that's disrespect. I don't think that they were purposefully giving Jalen the finger. Okay. Disrespect. I think the most disrespected quarterback in the league to me is Russell Wilson. Easy. It's easily Russell Wilson because we're all going out of our way to make fun of Russell Wilson. And it's very easy to do. And everything that he does, it warrants him getting made fun of because again, he doesn't really care because he's married to Sierra, which that sucks for all of us. But that's the situation. Like he goes on a plane, starts jogging on a plane. Everybody takes time out of their day to go on Twitter and just absolutely dunk on the guy. Hell, Russell Wilson is a man that got a sandwich named after him, a sandwich from Subway named after him. And then he started playing so poorly that Subway dropped the sandwich halfway through the season. Subway, the company that had Jared Fogle, a convicted kid diddler, unknowingly to them, in all fairness, but a convicted kid diddler was their spokesperson. Subway was like, Russell Wilson's too bad. We got to get rid of this guy. That's disrespect. That's disrespect. Another guy that's disrespected is what's his name? Kirk Cousins. That's another guy that's disrespected. You know, I know a lot of people have, especially with the quarterback thing going on right now. People are saying like, man, I like watching the Marcus Mariota part. He looks like a nice guy. Everybody likes watching the Patrick Mahomes thing because Patrick Mahomes is incredibly talented. But then everybody's like, but then Kirk Cousins is in there for some reason. He's just a lame guy. Calling him a lame guy, that's disrespectful. And everybody's guilty of making fun of Kirk Cousins too. I'm guilty of making fun of Kirk Cousins. You know, I've said things like he looks so still in the pocket that it's like he's waiting for a gunman in the rafters to shoot him. You know, I've said that. I've said that it looks like that Kirk Cousins looks like a guy who got caught enjoying hentai in high school and he never stopped like living from the embarrassment. I've said that, and those are two very disrespectful things. Nobody's ever said anything disrespectful like that about Jalen Hurts. Nobody at all. So that's my point. I think we got to stop with the disrespect thing when it comes to people not getting graded the correct way. That's all I wanted to touch on. But I'm going to bring on Brandon. I'm going to bring on Jalil. Guys, welcome to the show. How are we doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, can't complain. Another very fun day. It's a Friday, so that's always great. Training camp starting soon. And, you know, I think, you know, to your point about, you know, Jalen Hurts being disrespected, I think it's how you view the word. Because if you're viewing it in terms of like his talents and, you know, how he is as a player, I could agree with, you know, he's being disrespected because he's a better player than what a lot of people give him credit for. He's a better quarterback than what everyone is giving him credit for. As opposed to just pure disrespect in terms of just making fun of. There's like a dichotomy, and I can see how Kimberly Martin phrased it. I agree with that
Yeah.
part. I see how you came at it, and I agree with looking at it like that. It's just how you want to look at the use of that word.
That's
Yeah.
probably fair. What do you think, Jalil?
Well, well, what's up, everybody? To weigh in on this, I have to kind of go towards Brandon's side on this and say it is about how you view the word, because for me, disrespect is the appropriate word. See, I think you're trying to separate intent, right? You're like they're not doing it intentionally, and I understand that, but if you go drunk driving and you hit somebody with your car, you still kill them, you're still going to jail for murder, for manslaughter. You know, whether it was intentional or not. You know, it's what
All
happened.
right.
So we're gonna hold your feet to the fire for it. And Jalen at an 88 after the season he just had, where his passer rating from the pocket is top 5, where he's one of the best runners in the league, if not the best runner in the league, with Lamar Jackson sidelined for most of the season. 88, disrespectful. I think is definitely disrespectful.
Yeah, and that's kind of why talking about how you define the word disrespect. That's why I threw out those other words like undervalued, and maybe misunderstood's the wrong, but you kind of get the vibe then. So I'm just, if we're talking about people that are on ESPN, let's use words that are understood by all, and not some idiot that immediately thinks of comparing Jared Fogle to Russell Wilson. I think that might not necessarily be the vibe that we're going for there.
That was a great pull, by the way.
You know, I do my best. I just saw the documentary, and geesh, not great at all. But what Jalil was talking about was he was talking about the 88 being Jalen Hurts' rating on Madden, is the rating that he got on Madden. That's the one they came out with. We talked on Monday with the Sons of Swoop podcast. Brandon was not here for it, but we talked about like the whole roster, what we think that their ratings are going to be. How do we want to tackle this? Do we want to kind of go through what their actual ratings are, what some of the starters' ratings are? Brandon, do you have any thoughts, like outright? Have you like looked at the ratings and everything like that?
Well, it's not even a ratings thing, but I find it funny how, and we're doing it, and I love the discourse about it because it's always so funny. But it's always funny how the discourse goes from the Madden ratings to, man, this game sucks every single year. And then no one gives a damn about the ratings because everyone's just like, oh, Madden sucks again. And I, like, legitimately for me, haven't bought a Madden in like 3 years. Haven't bought the game. It got to a point where I was actually trying to think about it like a football sense. And every time I did that, it would just be the most unrealistic thing happening with my receiver not jumping for the ball, or I'm pressing the button to defend the pass and my guy simply just isn't jumping. And I'm just like, I'm not wasting my money on this anymore. And it hasn't changed for like 8-9 years. Now, but at the same time, it's always fun to talk about how incompetent they are with their rating system too.
One thing that I do like now, I don't know if you guys saw this. This came out maybe like a month ago. Because yeah, I'm not a big Madden guy. Like even though I got like the Xbox Game Pass and it has like the EA stuff on that, like I could get Madden for free. I just haven't even downloaded it. It's like, man, you just like, even when they come out with a new trailer, it just looks like weird. It's like, this doesn't look good to me. But one thing, I think they announced it like maybe like a month or so ago. There's a new game coming out that's called Wild Card Football or something like that, and it's still got the backing from the NFLPA, so it's gonna have like all the players in it and everything. But what it looks like to me is it looks like it's more of a mix between like NFL Blitz and NFL Street. So I'm in on that. I'm gonna give that one.
We need something like that. More competition for Madden, more incentive to make them work harder on their game. Franchise mode has been terrible for years, and that's what I love to do. Yeah, I grew up with brothers, so we play each other in games a lot. So that's what I do. I don't go online as much, But the other thing that I would love to do is draft, develop my team, and do all that stuff. So franchise mode is home, and it just hasn't been great for the past however many years. So Brandon, I'm with you. It's been about 2 years for me that I haven't bought the game. Jake, same. When I look at the trailers, I'm just like, this looks like more of the same.
It looks like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. It's like, this is weird.
Bring NFL 2K back. That's my final stance.
Let me do first person. Let me do first person football and just get a headache. That's what I'm looking for. But just to kind of end this, the like Jalil said, Jalen Hurts did get rated 88 in this Madden. One thing that stood out to me is that his awareness is a 91, and Lane Johnson's, now to be fair, Lane Johnson is rated a 98, but has a rating awareness of 99. I would argue that maybe, no matter how good the lineman is, maybe don't put a starting quarterback as having less awareness than him.
Fair.
That might be something. They also put Jalen Hurts' strength. Where's his strength? They put his strength as a 76. Buddy, we've all seen that the man can squat a goddamn truck. Like we've seen this. The 76. Now that's purposeful. Putting that 76 there, that's purposeful disrespect, and I will agree.
I have some of the other stats pulled up that they gave him. They gave him a 63 carrying, but a 93 break sack, a 91 change of direction, 79 break tackle, 88 juke move, 79 spin move, 74 stiff arm, 94 ball carrier vision, 70 trucking, 93 toughness, 93 stamina, 86 jumping, 91 awareness, which you mentioned, 91 agility, 76 strength. That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
and then with passing, these are, he's got 86 throw power, 94 throw accuracy short, 87 throw accuracy medium, then for deep accuracy, 87, 91 throw on the run, play action 87, then 89 throw under pressure. I feel like as good overall as they are, I feel like they could be bumped up, like a few of those stats being in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. And then some of the other ones that are like this, I like how they give like a rating for every skill for every single player. Like Jake Elliott has an impact blocking rating for some reason, but looking at that one specifically for Jalen, he got a run block power rating of 19. Now we've never really seen Jalen do the thing where you know how you love seeing like a quarterback run out and like actually do like a run block or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head Jalen ever doing that, but I would say probably if he did, you got to assume that he can throw his body around probably a little bit more than a 19. It seems incredibly low for that.
That's very low. That's very low. That's much disrespect, and then when you speak to so we have the Madden thing on Jalen covered top to bottom. I think he should be higher, right? And these are the guys that make Madden. And like y'all said, we already look at Madden with a side eye. But the people at ESPN are supposed to be experts, right? You want them to know what they're talking about. And I understand when you are covering nationally, it's difficult to keep up with all 32 teams. But at least do your research before you come in and say crazy things or make crazy lists. I feel like these things should be season to season, because where is the cutoff on how much we penalize a guy for what he did 2 seasons ago versus the praise that we give him for what he did 2 seasons ago if he's not still doing that? I feel like we're supposed to go off just the last season. And if you want to put Joe Burrow ahead of Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to be upset with you. But to put anybody else over him after what we just saw on any list that's supposed to be compiled by people who know what they're talking about, I think that's outrageous.
Yeah, I don't think
at least third.
and we all know that I have feelings on Patrick Mahomes, and I've actually done deep dives because when I did air those out, I think last week or whenever the hell that was, I had a buddy text me, and then I did an even deeper dive, and something about Patrick Mahomes' like accurate throw rating is absolute garbage. But we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that.
Don't do it, Jake. Don't do it.
He did it last time. He said Mahomes was a system quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't want this to get out there, and Chiefs Kingdom comes for you.
I'm in St. Louis. I'm in St. Louis right now. Somebody come fight me. Somebody come fight me. Come beat me up. Hurt your hand with absorbing the punches. I think does that kind of end everybody's discourse on Madden? Oh, actually, I do have one thing. I did say on Monday that I think Rashad Penny should have the same rating as Nick Chubb, but probably 10 points lower. And I said that, and Jalil looked at me like I was an idiot, and I'm pretty sure he said, "Jake, you're an idiot." I could be remembering that incorrectly. Turns out you were right. Nick Chubb, I think, is like the highest rated at like 97, and Rashad Penny's at 79. So that was a shoot and a miss by me.
Nick Chubb is he's just amazing. He really does it all. He's a power guy inside, outside, but has speed. His ability to break tackles is ridiculous.
And he doesn't wear gloves.
With three down pack, doesn't wear gloves. That's important information as well. Now, but what I wanted to touch on with these ratings is I think we got something right on Monday when we were discussing this. A few of us made the suggestion that, who was it here? Jordan Mailata would be a high 80s. He landed at 87. So that's so we called that one pretty accurately.
Look at us.
But some of these other Dallas Goedert's at 89. I'm not mad at that, you know.
Like that.
So I would give a little credit on top of, you know, just kind of destroying them for everything else, because Jason Kelce at 92, no. Up. Lane Johnson at 98, fine with, and that was another one actually that we mentioned. Lane Johnson at about a 98, and we were right about that. But 92 on Jason Kelce is way too low, and that's just all I wanted to say when addressing the Madden stuff.
How many guys in the past 2 years? Because that was my thing with, I think that Jason Kelce should have been up towards 99. How many guys in the past 2 years have been first team All Pro at their position? That's the old Tyreek. He's 99. Was Justin Jefferson All Pro his first year or second year? Whatever.
He was first team All Pro.
Okay. I mean, so like those guys are rated. I don't know if Tyreek's 99, but he's up there too. I don't know. That seems funky. That seems funky to me. That was another thing that stood out to me with that was that Jordan Mailata, was it Jordan Mailata, has a speed of 70, and Jason Kelce has a speed of 74. Jordan, I guess we forgot about the rugby videos.
Yeah, I guess. How quickly.
I know Jason Kelce's like a speedy guy for his position, everything like that, but you got to watch the Jordan Mailata videos. The guy's quick. Like, maybe not for a very long time, but he's more than a 70.
More than a 70 for sure. I'm with you on that.
What when you guys went over them, what positions were out?
I believe it was just safety, maybe corner. No, corner wasn't out because we didn't know about Darius Slay. So maybe it was just safety and wide receiver came out on Monday.
Yeah, so the top, I guess we'll go like top 8, 9, 10 on the Eagles. So you got obviously Lane Johnson at 98, Slay at 92, Kelce at 92, AJ Brown at 91, Hassan Reddick at 90, Goddard at 89, Hurts at 88, Devonta Smith at 87, Mailata at 87, Bradbury at 85, Sweat at 84, and then the 15th ranked guy is Landon Dickerson at 82. So reading those off, I mean, what do you guys think like stands out? I mean, I'm shocked that Bradbury's so low, but that's kind of the one that stands out to me.
That was going to be the one that I said, yeah, because I mean, personally, I think Bradbury's now. I guess that these ratings don't necessarily care about how good somebody is.
Well, they can also change throughout the year, which is
that is true as well.
They are a starting point.
That's a whole nother issue because if that was the case, Jalen Hurts should have been ranked higher than an 85 to end last season because that's what they finished him at. After
Is it really
MVP type season, at the very end of the year, they had him set at an 85. That's all they raised him to. And that, come on. What do you want from the guy?
It's like it's a weird thing because it's not like they're putting like their rating. So I remember I heard something like I guess Amari Cooper was the 10th, or maybe I saw it on Twitter. Amari Cooper was the 10th highest rated wide receiver, but like if you're playing Madden, you're making your all Madden team. I don't care if Amari Cooper's rated 90, man. I would rather play with Jalen Waddle. I would rather play with Devontae Smith. Obviously, I'd rather play with Devontae. There's so many other guys that are just like, yeah, his rating might be better, but what is that? I don't know. It's just like a whole different level where my brain's like, yeah, this, but also who cares? Who cares about Amari Cooper being like, congratulations, Amari. I'm very happy for you, but
who cares about Madden?
That's yeah. We got wild card football coming out, baby. It's going to take the world by storm.
Is there a date on that?
I can look that up. I'm sure there's not. Let me look.
Yeah, maybe a little too early for that. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you guys too on Bradbury. And 85 is now that it feels like the type of disrespect that you were talking about early, Jake. Right? It's a little bit more apparent. Like I said, I still stand by what I said on Jalen Hurts and me feeling like that was disrespected. But for James Bradbury to be 85, that's like a slap in the face. I don't get that at all.
I would also say Hassan Reddick at 90 is like being Hassan Reddick being the 5th highest guy on the Eagles seems wrong too. Yeah. That like what do you end the season with like 19 and a half sacks or something like that? How are you gonna put him at I don't know. But one thing that did stand out to me and was kind of alarming / we figured that it might happen, the top 3 guys on the Eagles, Johnson, Slay, and Kelsey, are all on the wrong side of 30.
Right.
That could be telling to something, could be, I don't know. That's just me looking too far into nothing. So that's kind of what I'm here for, making.
Well, I think that Howie usually does a pretty good job with it, trying to manage and keep the team competitive while starting to poke around for the younger talent. So we'll see how that, rears its head. We've drafted a couple of guys. So I don't know if, Zach McPherson is going to turn into one of those outside guys who can take over once Slay steps away, or if we move on from him. But I think that we'll figure that out. At least I hope we'll figure it out, because it's not like we haven't gone through those dog days at cornerback, because we definitely have. It hasn't been that long, and those times were very painful to think about. So let's move on from that. No, dog.
Yeah. So while we're talking about talking about dog days, potential battles in training camp and stuff, do we want to talk training camp battles first, or do we want to talk bold predictions and concerns for the season?
I see training camp battles first. I mean, kind of go like chronological with it, because like honestly, if we don't get to, we have an entire off season to give the bold predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. And yeah, everything always seems like we're taking much more time on it than we initially intended. I say 25 minutes after we talked about Madden again. Okay, so let's start off with some of the easier battles that we're going to be. I say easier as in easier to identify. Talking about right guard battle. So we're going to be looking at Tyler Steen, and we're talking about Cam Jurgens at right guard is the battle there. And my thought is that I think that the position is currently Cam Jurgens' position, because you don't want a guy that was drafted to be the backup for Jason Kelce, or to be Jason Kelce's replacement, you don't want him sitting on the sideline for 2 years. So in my mind, Cam Jurgens it's his spot to lose, is where I'm at with that. Do you guys have differing thoughts? Do you have any other thoughts?
So the fact that Cam Jurgens played pretty much mostly center at Nebraska kind of bothers me a little bit. I think that they'll give him every chance to win the job, but I think that Tyler Steen is going to be on equal footing. It's truly going to be on equal footing because they're really just going to want the best guy in there. It would suck. It's one of those things. I think they hope that Cam Jurgens wins the job, but it's not like we didn't take Tyler Steen in the 3rd round, which is still good value in a round that a lot of times you still expect guys to play, or at least contribute at some level. When you're in the offensive line, then maybe you can get in there a little sooner. So Tyler Steen is also 6'6", 322 pounds. Okay. Cam Jurgens 6'3", 302. So he's still a big guy himself. But Tyler Steen is going to have the edge size-wise.
That's a lot of meat.
Right. I think there's a chance that Tyler Steen might take that position.
Yeah, so I actually this has been a position I've been looking at since really the offseason began in terms of the Eagles, because Steen was drafted out of Alabama. He had a very good year there, but he's been more accustomed to playing tackle. The reason he's shifting over to guard at the pros because he came in at the combine with a shorter arm length. Some of his bigger struggles were with dealing with edge rushers, in the sense of couldn't really get that extension and really be able to combat some of the longer pass rushers that he was facing in the SEC. The thought process is if he goes inside the shorter arm length, he's able to combat that. He's a very power-based player in the sense of he's very good in the running game, but Jurgens is also a very good player as well, in the sense of he's also very good in the running game, but he's more accustomed to that interior spot as opposed to Steen. I personally think it's like a coin flip, in a sense of I think both guys have a very good shot at winning the job. I think that both of them would be great additions to the Eagles' offensive line. And regardless of who wins the job, you have depth. Even if Cam Jurgens isn't starting, even if Tyler Steen isn't starting, someone goes down along your offensive line, it's now not an issue of, oh, we don't have someone to fill that void. It's we have Steen or we have Jurgens to step right up. And
we even have Dennis Kelly back now too.
Yeah, and my prediction, I'm going to go with Steen. I just think he fits the mold of what the Eagles want to do a little bit more. And I think he has a bit more pass blocking potential at guard as he would have at a tackle position. And so, like, no matter what happens, they're going to make the right decision. So I have it's not like whoever you want to get it. If they don't, you're going to be looking at be like Jeff Stoutland made the right decision. Now, one thing, and I heard this from somebody, or saw it from somebody, is that okay, so Steen might have more opportunities to get the job in that Jason Kelce is not going to be practicing at every day of training camp. And who do you want getting the reps at backup center? Do you want, I mean, who else is behind back? Like, has Brett Toth done like snap the ball before? Or would you want Cam Jurgens to be the guy doing those second team reps?
Yeah, I think you'll want Jurgens. I think you'll want Jurgens taking care of that. That's a great point. And another question I have: do y'all think that Sua Opeta will get some reps to try him out at the right guard spot? Right now, he's back up left, but if the position's not solidified, maybe they throw him in there too and see what he can do on the right side.
I'd say that if you wanted to put 30. Well, no, it wouldn't work like that. If you wanted to, I would say it's more like 45% Jurgens, 45% that it's Steen, and then maybe 10% or even less that it would be Sua Opeta. Like, I think there's certainly a possibility for him to like really stand out or something like that during camp, but I wouldn't necessarily think that that's the That's not where I'd put my money.
I think it also comes down to a point of it's like, how much do you want to be moving these guys around? Like in a sense of, Apetta's right now at left guard. It's not always an easy transition going from left to right. Not always easy going from tackle to guard or going from center to guard, but I don't think you can ever rule it out. I mean, the Eagles pride themselves on having that offensive line depth, and I think giving all those guys an equal opportunity to win the job and just picking the best player is the best option.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the right guard one. Let's talk safety battle. So what the guys that are there for safety, to just do the names, talking Terrell Edmonds, Sidney Brown, Justin Evans, Reed Blankenship, Kayvon Wallace, and then Tristan McCollum.
Well, I think the two starters are going to be Edmonds and Blankenship. I wouldn't even say that it's a battle. I think they're by far the best two safeties on the board. When Reed had to come in and play last year, I was very, very happy with his production. I don't think there's any reason for him to take a step back and lose that job to anybody. I don't know how much longer we're going to keep Kayvon Wallace on the roster.
Forever, probably, is the way things are going.
He needs to figure it out now, or this is probably going to be his last year as an Eagle if he even makes it past training camp because they do have some guys in there to fight for those backup spots. But I think that's exactly what they'll be doing, is fighting for backup spots. Edmonds and Blankenship should have that solidified.
I mean, I like that. The one that I want is Blankenship and Edmonds, but I could be convinced that it would be Blankenship and Sidney Brown, or not Edmonds. Not yeah. I would want it to be Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds, but if it was, I could see a world where it's Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. But I'm not entirely sure you want a rookie and an undrafted free agent to be the two guys that are your safeties. What are you thinking, Brandon?
I mean, looking at the safety position, I think Edmonds has to be one of your starters because that's one of your guys that you brought in. You solved something in a sense of, okay, we're signing him. We think he can make an impact, and I think he does have some potential to even grow more as a player, especially within the Eagles defense. It's that second safety position. And I've been looking at this in the offseason where I'm like, yeah, Blankenship could win it. Kayvon Wallace could win it. Maybe you give Sidney Brown an opportunity too. But that's the one where I'm like, that could be the free agent addition. That could be the spot where you're adding someone. Because as a win now, high-level, Super Bowl caliber defense team, are you willing to put Reed Blankenship in that spot? And yes, it could turn out that, he's great and he is, very capable of playing. But are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to maybe allow him to step in week 6, week 7 as a fill-in or maybe certain packages? Or are you willing to take that shot right away and give him that spot? I would lean towards maybe looking at another veteran option where they're just going to be solid and not have that low potential floor. So that's what I'd be looking at. But I definitely think Edmonds has it, and I think it's more likely, or at least I would go the route of adding another addition there, but I think Blankenship could win that job.
Now, do we think that there's a potential for them to do 2 training camp ads on defense? Because that's the other one I wanted to get to is the linebacker battle. Like if they don't like what they're seeing out of the Covey Dean or Nick Morrow or any of the guys, or Christian Ellis, Christian Ellis, I guess he did good in OTAs and everything, but if they don't like what they're seeing out of these guys, I think there's a potential for them to add another. Who is that? Isaiah Simmons is still hanging. Is he still banging around out there?
I think they don't like linebackers.
That is
We don't like
That is very true.
linebackers. We
There's
haven't had
no
the great linebacker since Jordan Hicks. The Eagles seem not to prioritize that position, so I don't know that they're going to go get someone else.
that's kind of what my thought was, is if there's a potential, again, very small potential, but the potential that they did bring in a veteran as a linebacker to help solidify that role. Like, do we think that if they did that, they would also bring in a safety? Do we think if they brought in a safety that they would just like leave the linebacker alone? I mean, I don't know if that's a potential thing for them to do. But what do you guys think about that linebacker room?
Go ahead, Brendan.
I mean, looking at it right now, you got Reddick. I mean, are we talking just like more so like linebacker, or
I would say not Sam. I think Sam is pretty solidified with Nolan Smith and Hassan.
Yeah. Nakobe Dean, it's the idea, and we talked about it beforehand. Can Nakobe Dean be the type of player he is with that Eagles front seven? Can he have the room to operate as a player and at the level we've seen him operate at Georgia, because he has the great front in front of him? We don't know yet. I'm willing to take the shot on him because I think he has the talent. That's the guy, as opposed to Blankenship, where Dean has all that talent. He has all that athleticism, where if I'm confident enough in not only my other linebackers, but the rest of the defense in front of him to allow him to have the room to operate, that's the chance I'm willing to take on him. But that's what you get to see over the course of training camp. That's what you get to find out. You see, hey, is it working with the defense, or do we have to make that addition? That is why I'm not so, they need to add another interior backer. If anything, I'd say add another backer at the spot where Nicholas Morrow and Sean Bradley are. And I know Bradley is valued by Eagles fans to an extent, but that's where I'd be looking at the linebacker, not necessarily for Dean's spot, but I still value safety over linebacker.
I would agree with that. I think safety is more likely the position that they would go out and get somebody else. I mentioned on Monday, I'm a little higher on Nakobe Dean than some other people are, but I still acknowledge that he has a higher boom or bust potential because of his size. But I think that he'll fit in the system well. When it comes to Morrow, I think he's going to fit the system just as well as I think that Nakobe Dean is going to fit the system, because if Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis can be those space eaters up front, then it's going to open lanes for those guys to be decisive and get through them. And those are things that those guys kind of special in. That's one of the reasons why Nakobe Dean was so good at Georgia. And that's one of the reasons why I like Morrow, because when I went and watched the film, he was quick and decisive through the holes and stopping the run game from the offense. And that's why he finished the season with 82 tackles. So I'm very, very confident in those guys. And I think that that's going to work out. That safety position is the one that I'm still a little bit, uncertain about, though I'm confident in Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds. If I had to say that there's a position other than the defensive tackle that I'm just kind of concerned about how it's going to work out, then it would be the safeties. But another thing, in case Eagles fans don't know, Terrell Edmonds can also catch the ball. So that's something to hope and look forward to. So if the ball comes his way, he should be seeing some interceptions. I don't know if his hands are as good as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but he can definitely catch the football.
Okay, I like that. Now, I think you both mentioned that you both value the safety position more than the linebacker position. And I mean, that falls in line with how the Eagles run things too, and pretty much the entire NFL at that. But does that mean you guys are more worried about the safety position because you value it more, or are you just much more confident in that the Eagles linebacker core will work out?
I think for me, I don't think linebacker is as big of a necessity when you have as dominant of a front defensive line presence that the Eagles have, where you can get after the passer, you can cause havoc in the run game. You don't need, and this is the problem I feel like a lot of people don't realize, and the Eagles have this amazing luxury. You don't need everyone to be an all-pro. You don't need everyone on your defense to be the upper echelon at their position, but you've run down through the Eagles defense, having a Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, the potential in Nolan Smith, that gives you the room to have the
lackluster guys behind him.
Or not even lackluster, but the unproven, the Nakobe Dean, the Nicholas Morrow, where even if they're solid, that's all you need. You don't need them. You don't need them to go above and beyond. Safety just worries me because as good as your corners are, there are ways in the NFL to avoid the boundary corner position. Now, I think the Eagles have a great slot, but when you start attacking those safeties, and if those safeties are an issue, opposing offense are going to attack that relentlessly.
Yeah.
There are ways to completely expose the middle of the field. And if you're not confident in your safety play, if that's even below the standard of like just decent, you're in trouble. It's going to cause a lot more issues than the Eagles should have.
Yeah, I mean, you said middle of the field, but the first thing that comes to my mind is the Cowboys picking up the 3rd and 30 with T.Y. Hilton. I mean, it was on the boundary, but that was still them just absolutely picking on. Was that Kayvon Wallace? Who the hell was that back there? I can't remember who it was, but whoever it was, I don't want to think about it.
It was Josiah Johnson. I think it was Josiah. Josiah Scott. I mean, I said Johnson. About that point too, about the safeties and their importance versus the linebackers, I'll say it like this. On Monday, we talked about my concern with the defensive tackles just because of the uncertainty and how we were susceptible in the beginning of the year with the run game, right? Yep. So those linebackers, TJ was there, Kaiser was there, and we still had those issues. It wasn't until we brought in Sue and Linval Joseph that we kind of solidified our defense versus the run game is still same thing. Those linebackers are still there, right? So before and after the shift, it wasn't the linebackers who made the most difference there. It was the defensive tackles. So that just kind of gives you a bit of a sense. And even though TJ Edwards and Kaiser White weren't amazing cover guys, there was so much going on coverage-wise with the cornerbacks and the safeties that were doing so well that the Eagles were still able to force quarterbacks to hold the ball quite a bit. A lot. I always tell people when I discuss the 70 sacks, the defensive line was amazing, yes, but there were plenty of times where that quarterback had to hold the ball because no one was open, and that was a big reason as well for a number of sacks that the Eagles were able to accumulate. So, the linebacker position, as long as they're solid, then it should be just fine. We don't need those guys to be super elite. Though I do miss Jordan Hicks. He was always around the ball. It's like my 3rd time bringing him up. I loved Jordan Hicks, and when we got rid of him, I was upset because he was like healthy for like the rest of his career. He's been healthy, and I felt like that's why we moved off of him. But I mean, they're just not as necessary, it seems.
Yeah, and that's another thing that goes into that is getting the new linebacker coach too. Didn't the homeboy? Didn't he follow Jonathan Gannon to Arizona? I believe he did. Yes. So that's another thing that could potentially go into. I'm not entirely sure that's worth worrying much about, but it's just another how coaching changes could just make things kind of wonky early on. But that's what you get the preseason for. Okay, let's talk about what time is it? 45 minutes in. Let's talk about running back room. So the running backs that we're looking at DeAndre Swift, we're looking at Rashad Penny, we're looking at Kenny G, we're looking at Boston Scott, the small king, we're looking at Trey Sermon. Are the 6? Was that 6? That was all 6. That was the 6 guys that are currently on the Eagles roster.
Kennedy Brooks as well.
Kennedy Brooks is there. Okay.
Although I don't think he makes much of a difference.
I was going to say somehow Trey Sermon might outdo Kennedy Brooks. What do we think the depth at the what? I'm trying to think of a good way to start this. How do we think that the depth is going to look at that? Like when we get to week 1, what do we think the depth chart is going to look like, or what roles do we think everybody's going to have?
Well, I think it really depends, right? If the Eagles truly want to get away from Jalen Hurts carrying the ball as much, they want to get away from, having him be the if not the focal point of their rushing attack, you're going to see an emphasis on Rashad Penny. And you're going to see them try to keep another power back, in my opinion, on the roster, whether it's Sermon or someone else they pick up after cuts. I just think while you have Gainwell, you have Swift, you have Scott, they all, while they may do a few different things, they're all undersized and they're very good in the passing game, the short yardage game, in the sense of like on the outside with speed and athleticism. Penny has that, but he's in between the tackles. He's that guy where I feel like if you give him 15, 16 carries, he's going to be able to keep those chains moving, keep you ahead of the sticks. And that's something the Eagles need.
But you would want 15 to 16 carries a game for Rashad Penny.
I mean, I'm not saying necessarily that much, but like in that range, 10 to 15, where it's like I'm not saying you need him to be the starter, quote unquote, because I think that's going to be either Swift or Gainwell. But you need him involved heavily.
I think that without a doubt, DeAndre Swift is the best back on the roster, and if he's not the starter, I'm going to have some questions about the coaching staff and their decision making. His speed coupled with his ability to pretty much do everything, right? He can run inside, he can go outside, he can catch the ball. There's not really a thing that DeAndre Swift as a running back can't do. And I actually remember looking this up. I'm not sure exactly what the numbers were, but he was a very good pass blocker as well. So you don't have to worry about pulling him off the field. If it's a definite pass down, you just need that guy. Rashad Penny is also a solid pass blocker, but that's something that DeAndre Swift is good at. So I think that he's going to be the way that you listed them out the gate. I think it's going to be the depth chart order. I think it will be Swift, Penny, Gainwell, Scott. Those are going to be the main guys, with the Trey Sermon coming in if guys are injured and we need an additional back, an additional body. But keeping both of those guys, Penny and Swift, off of the injury report is going to be the toughest thing, right? So there's just going to be a balance. I think there's going to be some frustration with Eagles fans sometimes who are like, why isn't Swift in there, or why isn't Penny in there when Gainwell or Boston Scott is in there getting touches? Not like those guys aren't good. They definitely are, but there's a certain pop that Penny and Swift bring that those guys lack. But I think it's going to be smart, for them to go about it that way. It's the best way to do it anyway. And it's why guys like Saquon Barkley struggle getting paid. More teams are going to a run by committee type of, option with their offenses. So, I mean, it just works out better that way.
Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I'm most excited about for DeAndre Swift is just his pass catching ability. I mean, you saw the biggest uses of Kenny Gainwell last year was that he was a running back that could catch the ball, because Miles Sanders played like he didn't own fingers. It was like he was just palms and could not catch the ball or, hold on to it for that matter. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about, is that you can actually, it's not like, oh, Kenny Gainwell's in there, this is going to be a passing down. Like you can have, or not Kenny. Yeah, that's how it was. Last year was like Kenny Gainwell's in there, this is going to be a passing down. Mm-hmm. Now you get DeAndre Swift in there, you don't necessarily know which way they're going to go with it, especially if you're doing that RPO. So I'm very excited for that. In my perfect world, the use of Rashad Penny, I think you use him scarcely. What I would like is that you use Rashad Penny like they used, was it Jordan Howard in 2021?
I was going to say like a Jordan Howard or LeGarrette Blount, where it's like, yeah, that was kind of the thinking. Swift, obviously best running back on the roster. I don't think it's close, but you spell him in the short yardage with Penny.
Yeah, and you just once he gets going, like what they did with Jordan Howard, once he gets going, you just use him until they can stop him. I mean, he's just like you just let him just be the big old bruiser that he is, and just crush people. Because I mean, you do that many run plays in a row behind the best offensive line in the league, that defense is going to get demoralized. Think about like a game against Washington where they have no depth on their defensive line, where those you start beating those their Washington's front four down. Those guys get tired. All of a sudden, Rashad Penny breaks one free on his fourth straight run. Like that's
exactly how it happens.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's the kind of thing that gives me goosebumps. That's what I'm hoping for.
Gentlemen, do you realize with the acquisition of DeAndre Swift that this is the first time that we've had this type of talent at running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield since Shady? We haven't had that number one guy who's as dynamic as he is when you just hand him the ball that can also catch it and be just as dynamic since LaShawn McCoy. So yeah, I'm excited about that too, Jake.
I think it's gonna really show. I think about midway through the season when guys on other teams start getting beat up, and you can really just force whatever the hell. That not going to finish that sentence, but you get what I mean. Okay. The other thing that I had on there in my kind of little rundown, we got 8 minutes left. I don't know how much input anybody has on it, but the punting battle, if you want to call it that. Ty Zentner and Aaron Siposs. I don't know. I think everybody wants Ty Zentner, or maybe I should say it like this. I don't think anybody wants Aaron Siposs to be there. Mm-hmm. Is that? It's not. It's not super interesting because by all accounts so far, Ty Zentner has kind of stunk up the joint. And Aaron Siposs, we know, stinks up the joint when it comes to real games, especially ones that matter. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Have any differing thoughts on that, or is that kind of just the consensus?
Excuse me. My whole thing when it comes to special teamers is if it's a bad player, you take the unknown. I sound like
you go ahead and clear your throat again.
Yeah, I sound like I have something in my throat. If you know.
No, let me go. You take a second. You got to take a second. Look, Aaron Siposs. This is how I feel about Aaron Siposs. What I want to hear is that Howie had one of the assistants say, he said, "Hey, tell Aaron to come here and bring his playbook." You know what I'm saying? Like right at the beginning of training camp, just turn in your playbook. Thank you for your service. You know, just usher him out the door. I'm not too familiar with the other punter, but from what we are hearing, them talking that he hasn't been able to beat him in the early mini camps, hasn't been able to beat Aaron. That doesn't bode too well. Now, hey, maybe Aaron has turned it around, and all offseason he was practicing his punts, and now he's ready to go. Highly unlikely. Can we just get two new guys to come in and fight it out? Because I'm not optimistic about either.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden you're waiting for another punter to get cut from another team, and you're like, okay, well, this guy's not good. He's already potentially in the bottom half of the league. It's a mess.
Yes.
I'm not. It's disappointing. Just, hey, maybe no punter at all. Madden, just go for it, man. NFL blitz, no punting.
So before something jumped in my throat 5 seconds ago, what I was gonna say is, if a guy is proven that he isn't good and you have the unknown potential and he's shown anything that might resemble an improvement, that's who I'd go with. I mean, we see it with special teamers all the time. And that's just, that's how I view it.
It's the right way to view it.
That's fair.
It's just frustrating that not only did Mike Clay keep his job, but also got a raise, and things are going to stay the same. So that's just a kick in the groin. Okay, we got 5 minutes left. I did not key you guys in on this, but I do have one prop, just one fun little prop. I want to hear you guys. This is not what Brandon. This is not one of my When is Jerry Jones going to say a slur in a radio thing? This is okay. Who do you think is going to have more receiving yards? Whoever the wide receiver 3, not receiver 3. Who do you think is going to have more yards? Wide receiver 3 or DeAndre Swift? So whether you think it's going to be Quez or Olamide Zaccheaus, or do you think it's going to be DeAndre Swift? For posterity's sake, DeAndre Swift in the last 2 seasons, in 2021, 452 yards. Last year, 389 yards.
What did Quez have last year? Do we know that?
I can look. I can find that real quick. Quez. I don't necessarily know if the Olamide Zaccheaus yards matter since he was wide receiver, I think 1 or 2. Quez last year, 354, and 2021, 647.
That 300 number is not great.
Nope.
But here's the thing. I feel like Quez is better than what he showed us last year.
This is your Optimus Prime, isn't it? You're
Optimus. Yeah, Optimistic Prime. Yes. Brandon, you missed that on Monday's episode. I told them my family calls me Optimistic Prime because I'm always positive about the birds, like every year. But yeah, listen. His ability to catch contested balls 2 years ago was very good. Last year, it was abysmal. I would like to say he's at least somewhere in the middle, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to wide receiver 3 that I do think is going to be Quez.
I'm going to have to go wide receiver 3 as well. That's partly because I think the Eagles are going to be passing a lot. That's partly because I'm not too optimistic on DeAndre Swift's health. It goes hand in hand where healthy DeAndre Swift will give me a run for my money here. But I think Zaccheaus or Watkins have more yards than him. Receiving at least.
I think that it's going to be DeAndre Swift. Now, what did I say? 389 last year for DeAndre? Yeah, that's what it was last year. Sorry, I'm going to burp. That was gross. I think that's good. I think it's going to be DeAndre Swift because you did bring up the health. He was not healthy last year, and he still got the 389. Now, his health last year, it seemed like it was more lingering issues where they were playing him and he was playing more at 75% rather than just sitting him out 3 games and letting him get healthy or anything like that. I think that's kind of what it comes down to, whether or not the Eagles are allowing DeAndre Swift to be a tough guy or be a smart guy. But I do think that DeAndre Swift is that's kind of my vote there.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's going to be close if he stays healthy. If he can stay, and that's going to be the true test. The Eagles the last 2 years have done a fairly great job of being healthy late in the season. It's going to be a true test to see if that can stay true for, with the additions of Penny and Swift. See if they can keep the health ball rolling.
I was thinking about that injury thing. Yeah, they have been very, very healthy the last 2 years, especially coming off the 2020 season where everybody was damn near dead. But that comes along with the Nick Sirianni doing the less in I'm trying to think of the right word, not vigorous, maybe vigorous, less intensive practices, doing the more walkthroughs. There's a lot of thought like, when's the other shoe going to drop? When is the negative regression going to happen for the injuries? Doesn't necessarily have to. Could what Nick Sirianni's doing be the good move? I think there could be something. Maybe there will be more injuries. We know that that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be like going from 0 going into the Super Bowl to all of a sudden you're starting Britton Covey, Quez Watkins, and Greg Ward again. I don't think.
Well, my God.
There's also a lot of luck included too, which
absolutely
not as
Dallas Goedert getting his face ripped off and all of a sudden he has a broken shoulder. That's an unlucky thing to happen. So yeah, but that's where we're at. Guys, it has been an hour. That is the time I have to go. If just personal plug. If you are in St. Louis, I'm at the Westport Funny Bone this weekend. Come out and say hi to me. You're not in St. Louis. Of course you're not. But, if you wanted to be, then do that for me. Anyway, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us on this Friday evening. This has been the Inside the Eagles live podcast TV. I don't remember what the name that we're calling it is. Thank you guys very much. That is Brandon Pockrass. That is Jalil Williams. Guys, thank you very much. We will talk to you. I believe we're actually going to be back here on Monday talking about something, is what Jeff said. So we will see you guys then. Thank you. Go Birds.
Later.